This is one of those ones that just makes itself, Charles. Normy Boy, how are you today?
I'm doing well here in the Gili Islands in Indonesia.
I
And
thought it was going to be an undisclosed international location.
well, there are a lot of Gili Islands, so good luck finding this one. But
Exactly.
no, it's. I have to say, I wish that I had explored Indonesia 40 years ago. I mean, it's a fascinating place, a very welcoming place. I've now been to the big cities and these small islands, and everyone in these type of islands says a can-do attitude. Of you have a challenge, they figure out how to solve it with a smile on their faces, and prices are extremely reasonable. Quality is very high, um, and it's rare that I mean I think I've been now to 85 countries out of 200, and I still have other places I'd like to see, but so far this is by hands down one of the nicest places I've ever visited. It's remarkable.
That is amazing. If people, I mean, we should say this show is not sponsored by the Gili Islands, but if you are feeling the urge, Charles obviously recommends it. So it's a good opportunity for people to maybe take a vacation. But Charles, I think a lot of people are concerned. Heads have been exploding over the tariffs. And we also have to talk about Norm hanging out with Chief Justice John Roberts. It's incredible.
And Q-tip.
Well, right.
Well, starting on tariffs, and the art department again has outdone itself for this poster and idea. But the idea behind Trump's abrupt move here is not to raise the prices of goods and services inside the United States, is to destroy globalism. And globalism was a stupid fucking idea promulgated really by George H.W. Bush and then pushed hard by Bill Clinton. Not enough scrutiny has to date been given on Fred Thompson, Senator Fred Thompson, the famous actor, who in the run-up to the 96 election, right before the 96 election, claimed that he had devastating evidence of Chinese cash going into the Democrat Party and into Bill Clinton specifically. And that, there's John Wong and Charlie Tree and all these weird people in Arkansas with the Clintons. There was a push in that period to move China into the World Trade Organization, a project that made no sense to me at the time. It makes less sense now, but it's one that Bill Clinton pushed across the finish line. And I was watching on my X feed, there was some European historian who was claiming that the Chinese had dirt on Clinton when he was president. And they were putting extraordinary pressure on him to do what he did, specifically to let China into the World Trade Organization. You'll remember at the same time that another compromised politician, Tony Blair, allowed China to manhandle its way into getting possession of Hong Kong decades before the lease that had previously been signed was due to run out. So I think with the benefit of hindsight, there's a lot of evidence that the plan to create a global system in which key actors would not comply, that is to say, China would pretend that it was all in for environmental reform and trade reform, but would do none of that. Would give China a free pass to do what it has done ever since 1997 and maneuver itself into a place where multinational companies would rush to China to take advantage of cheap labor and other benefits they saw operating from a Chinese base. Well, that makes no sense. You and I have been through this many times. The UNCTAD data shows clearly that the Chinese economic miracle is a fraud. That they, as the Clinton Foundation did on a much smaller basis, you claim that an investment is money sound in your GDP accounts, and you get it counted on dollar for dollar, when in fact it's not making money. It's just, there are some estimates that as much as 50% of everything that China produces is fake. And so the money, the accounting for China's meteoric rise in GDP is not right. There's a lot of corruption in China. There's a lot of corruption everywhere. And Trump just basically said, listen, we are the largest market in the world, which America still is. Forget the government sector, the private sector. And if any business wants to play and aspire to be a leader in global business, you have to be in the US market. So you're not going to be serving the US market from bullshit factories in rural China where you damage your local environment, you cheat on the accounting, you cheat on the costs just so people in Walmart can have cheap plastic shit that costs $1 less than it should. We're just not doing that anymore. We're going to attract the Elon Musks of the world, the many people who paid $5 million each to come into this country, to bring their ideas, bring their businesses, and start making products and services again inside our borders and selling those products and services around the world. Already, in just days of doing these tariff announcements, you're seeing major league exporting countries, Taiwan as one example, say, you know what, we're going to cut down our tariffs to zero, and we're going to start investing in the United States of America. That's what you're seeing. You're also beginning to see that the European project to put idiots like Ursula von der Leyen, or whatever her name is, and others in charge of these death spiral economies where populations are shrinking, government costs are soaring. That project makes no sense to the European Union, and the death knell of the European Union was struck last week when Trump announced these tariffs. So yes, there's going to be dislocation. I don't remember a lot of Democrats crying about the murderers they imported and put in 4-star hotels to go into our major cities and ransack the cities with crime, steal benefits, hurt our local people. I don't recall any anxiety over that, any pearl clutching by the fake Indian Elizabeth Warren and Bernie's stupid Sanders. No, these are strong moves. They're good moves. They will result in dislocation, but you've got to measure the progress of this effort over years, not over days. And I think Wall Street is spooked. There's there are a lot of levered players, that is to say, people who borrowed money to play in the stock market, which is a stupid idea. A lot of people did that. A lot of people made money on the way up. Now they're losing money on the way down. There's going to be, I think, there are buying opportunities in many markets right now. And I think in the end, the smart people are going to see through all this. This is really good for America. We're seeing tremendous amounts of foreign capital rush into this country. We're seeing interest rates come down. Oil prices have dropped 15% in a matter of scant days or weeks. That's very good. The average American doesn't have any money in the stock market, but has to fill up his or her car every other day. You're seeing an immediate drop in those transportation costs. You're seeing a drop in food costs. And you're also starting to see more and more private sector hiring in the jobs report. So I think on balance, it's good news. The people who are anti-Trump, the normies of this world, they have a script. Trump bad, me good. I mean, that's their script. And there's no enthusiasm at these rallies. These are fake rallies. They're paying people in. There's a lot of tape on my X feed of people asking protesters, what do they mean by their signs? And they can't explain it. And they whip out talking points in the same type font. You know, these are paid actors. And no one believes this bullshit. Trump's popularity has risen 5 points, according to one poll, in scant days. So this is another gasp. Barack Obama is the first American president to remain very much involved in the fight after leaving the White House. Historically, that was not done. Once the president's terms were finished, he just went back to whatever he liked to do. With it's Reagan riding horses and chopping wood. That's what he did.
Chefs, whatever.
Yeah, but here Q-Tip is out there in these idiotic conferences thinking that he could do the master of the straw dog argument. Some would say that it's a bad thing. I mean, imagine if I were to spy on my political opponents the way I did, or weaponize the IRS against the Tea Party. Imagine if I did that. We don't need to imagine. You did that, you fucking moron. And there's going to be hell to pay now. for what you and the Clintons and Norm Eisen and others have done. This is an attempt to rile up the American public in a summer of rage, and it ain't going to work, in my opinion.
Yeah, Norm was on stage at some event in DC. It was quite weird yesterday, Charles. You know, I went back down to the Tesla showroom in the meatpacking district over there, and nobody at all was there. I found it weird. I mean, it seems to me if this was an organic movement of any kind, at least some of their people would have gone back. Oh yeah, I repinned the Norm video. It's marching its way towards 3 million views as people contemplate what the hell this guy was doing in the Czech Republic for a week with his buddy John Roberts. I mean, he acts like, you know, he literally has super user rights in the courts and access to the law and stuff. Charles, I observed this earlier today. This was a Cadillac Escalade with a Starlink satellite built into the roof. First time I've seen that in the wild.
Right. Well, back on Norm, is the correct word for Norm nebbish? I mean, the guy.
I would say yes.
Yeah. I mean, Norm is about as exciting as Earthtrue is. I mean, he is not somebody who's going to rally a crowd. Somebody was pointing out that Norm gave $500,000 to the Democratic Party in one election cycle. How does he make that kind of money?
Brookings gives it to him. He's a fellow at all of these things. That's what I mean. They use these NGOs to funnel money to, they say, hey, Norm, we'll pay you $650,000, but you got to give 500 of it to whatever campaign.
Right, but that math doesn't work because the 500 is after-tax money and the 650 is pre-tax.
Well,
so
you know what I mean. They've got it worked out in some way, but I'm saying they're laundering money through all these NGOs.
Right, and so I go back, I mean, this project, the project to get Trump, is a project to protect Obama and protect Biden and protect the Clintons. That's what this project is all about. So when you look at Norm Eisen and you say this, here's a guy who's wrong on the law. He's wrong on so many different things. I guess he was a good enough student to get high marks at Harvard and Harvard Law School, or he went to Harvard Law School. I don't know where he went to Harvard College, but the guy is a horrible actor in on the American scene. History is not going to remember this cretin positively. And so what must he have? Well, one of the things he has is he was at Harvard Law School with Obama, and he was a friend of Obama's at Harvard Law School. Now, to pick on Obama a lot, there's nothing about Obama's academic record that is impressive. Nothing. Right? He was a shit student in high school. He went to a shit college out of high school. Somehow he managed to transfer to Columbia. After Columbia, he had a shit job that, you know, became involved stirring up trouble, call it social justice warrior activity. But I mean, then somehow he gets into Harvard Law School. That just doesn't make any sense.
Charles, you're going to love this. He went to Brown University undergrad. He's down with the Brown. Yeah, I know you love Brown. And I just noticed Brown University has this Odd Fellows rope in their crest or whatever this is, coat of arms.
Yes. So, you know, Brown University the campus is nicer than I expected. And actually, my mother grew up living right near that campus in Providence. But, you know, Didn't
we recently have a conversation where you indicated that Ivy League people look down on Brown?
Absolutely. You know, I mean, I actually, in going through the papers that were transferred into my apartment from America, I had my parents had kept a whole bunch of records of mine that I've just forgotten about. One of which was the Horace Mann newspaper is called the Horace Mann Record, or it was called that back then. And my parents saved the page that listed out all the places that I and my classmates went to. And Brown was very much the place you went to if you wanted to just cruise through college. You only needed 28 credits to get through Brown, 32 to get through Harvard, and 36 to get through Yale. And there the credits were of equal value. So though there were different schools, it's the same idea. So Brown was well known as a place you could just cruise through. Another highly unimpressive graduate at Brown is Ira Magaziner, who was a Rhodes Scholar out of Brown. And he's at the core of the rot in the Clinton Foundation is Ira Magaziner and his vanity and narcissism and stupidity. But Norm Eisen is a cut out of Ira Magaziner's cloth, and then he ends up at Harvard Law School with Barack Obama. Now, in every Harvard Law School class, there's a Ted Cruz. I mean, there's a guy who's a superstar academic person who probably should be a judge or Supreme Court justice, or not the Chief Justice. Barack Obama ain't one of those people. You can tell in the way he argues. You can tell he's just a puppet. And he was used well by the machine to bring this country to the brink of extinction. I mean, you look back, people talk about Obamacare as being a great piece of legislation. It's dog shit. It has destroyed the medical profession. Many talented doctors have left. The American healthcare system, I say that, getting through my father's last days and other people I know have had troubles. I mean, the American medical system is in ruin because of Barack Obama. Our major cities are in ruin because of this social justice welfare bullshit. Meanwhile, he and his wife have 4 mansions, dancing around the world on private jets saying, you got to worry about global warming. Don't look too closely at all my mansions or my dead chef or my fancy contracts or all this money I have that I don't deserve. So Obama really needs the Peter Bakers of this world who write the books that are, making him seem like he's a cross between Mahatma Gandhi and Mother Teresa. I mean, Barack Obama is a grifter, and his wife is worse. And they have little to show. I mean, race relations in this country after 9/11 were very strong indeed.
Yeah,
nobody cared. I was there.
Nobody cared about race after 9/11.
Right. It was sad, but a unifying moment. I remember the day I was there. I was stuck there. I had to stay in a hotel, and there were all these people from all different walks of life just stopping one another on the street. Can I help you? This and that. I mean, and this idiot comes in, Barack and his wife, with the people around him and her, just stoking the politics of envy in the grievance industry. And you look at Bernie Sanders in this recent tour, stop oligarchs, but don't get between me and the private jet that I'm going to get to as I fly around the United States pretending that I give a shit. I mean, it's as you would say, it's theater, Rand Paul. It's theater. I mean, it's bad theater.
Yeah. 25 million. He spends big on private jets and Amazon. Big, 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 Charles. You know who else was spending big? Well, actually, wait, before I ask you about that, because you mentioned Peter somebody, Elon Musk posted a tweet that he doesn't like Harvard economists. Like, I think Peter Navarro is from Harvard. So he had a tweet, kind of spicy tweet, and saying Elon Musk, is pissed or doesn't like Peter Navarro's tariff plan.
Again, I think that people are misreading the whole approach here. I don't think Trump likes tariffs either. I mean, nobody wants tariffs. What you want is you put them up so that you get the other side to back down and go to a zero tariff regime where people compete on the merits of their products and services, not on whether some government or another government is going to protect your industry. Musk has gotten subsidies in the past. He has gotten government loans, which he's repaid in full with interest before others, in some cases, others failed to repay. So, I think what Musk wants is full-on competition. And any world-beating company I've ever known or been associated with always wants full-throated competition. That brings out the best in everybody. You don't need these Poindexters in some think tank, hiring McKinsey to write a long survey and study advocating this policy position so you can negotiate till the end of time in fancy hotel rooms. I mean, that's not what you need. You need people making inventing, as you did with your 3D camera, inventing better products and services, bringing them to the market, running companies to do so profitably. That's what you need. We need to shrink the size of the public sector. We need to put the crooks who have been looting the taxpayer through nonprofits and other ways. We need to put those crooks into prison to make examples of them. And I don't give a shit what that idiot Frank Luntz has to say in a poll about tariffs. I don't care.
What about toupee advice from Frank Luntz? Would you do that?
Yeah. No. No.
He looks ridiculous. Obviously, they care.
It's just he's a fake it. He's a moron.
Speaking of morons, Charles, what about Tish James? There's been a lot of reporting. Roger Stone has gotten onto this, which is good because I think he has 1 million people or so looking at him on Twitter, almost 1 million. And he also has his ABC radio show, so a lot of stuff in New York with Roger Stone. But what's happening is Sam Antar and our friend Joel Gilbert have both been investigating from different angles. There's this whole thing where Tish James put on the mortgage application that she was married to her father. I guess maybe the statute of limitations for this stuff might be run out by now, but I don't know.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it runs from the date of discovery.
Yeah, that might be right. I don't know, but she's certainly Pam Bondi could be doing something. Instead, she isn't. People are a little irritated about that, Charles.
As I am. I mean, I want less talking on Fox News about what you might do and more unsealed indictments that suggest we're moving towards trials or criminal prosecutions for the obvious frauds. I mean, I'm in a very relaxed mode out here, on a vacation from my vacation. So it's difficult to get my blood boiling. But going through my X feed this morning before I went on air, I saw this idiotic tweet from Nancy Pelosi boasting about how she was with Baroness May at some conference in New Haven. And the presence of all these students at Yale gave her confidence that we could resist Trump and proceed on good governance projects around the world. That just made me more determined than ever to make Yale taxable again. I mean, giving an audience to this obvious grifter. She's a daughter of a grifter. Her father was a crook. She's a crook. Her husband's a crook. Her family are crooks. The January 6th thing was a complete setup by her and people close to her in an attempt, including Republicans, to try to destroy the Trump brand and the MAGA movement. She's a disgrace, not just she's a disgrace to sisterhood. And give her a forum at Yale was disgusting. And to have all these blue-haired, nose-ringed, people who aren't sure who they actually are at these Ivy League schools, going down career trajectories, emulating Obama and emulating the Clintons, and thinking that they're going to govern us for the rest of time. The biggest cancer in America is Nancy Pelosi and people like her, Bernie Sanders, AOC, these people who've never passed a math, science, or finance course, but think that they're entitled to just borrow trillions of dollars and spend it on projects that conveniently end up attaching some of that money to their own pocketbook. I mean,
right, keeping some of it. That's the worst part, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, name one legitimate penny that Nancy Pelosi or AOC have ever earned. One. Or the Clintons.
They said that DOGE is going to turn its attention toward members of Congress who are trading in stocks. But Charles, it's time for us to turn our attention to the First Amendment Forum. People are going to be able to join us over there. People who subscribe to me now on X at JG_CSTT. You can't do subscriber only live streams on X, as technologically sophisticated as Elon Musk is. But the sponsor exclusive content goes on there right after. And the other good news is Odyssey has announced that they are sticking with Stripe. They've worked all that out. So people who are on there with their regular credit cards can continue to do that. Other people can sponsor the show on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsource the truth. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, Charles. We'll be right back in the First Amendment.